the third test, and that we on. So we're gonna work with this right now. We're at tablet 9, the evolutionary process. It says you are about to embark upon the truth. I shall take you a step further into the world of true knowledge, wisdom, and oversight. For many years, humans have pondered about the evolution of the inhabitants of the planet Earth. The question was in the minds of the humans as to where each species, each life form evolved. You must learn of the process of the evolutionary process. This will give you a great knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and reasoning of how and where the nine ether versus the six ether came about. Now let us begin by learning of a time before when a large craft from the Ninka fleet, thought to be a meteorite, crashed into the planet, shearing off the lower half of it. This was 24 billion years ago. This caused the development of the Earth's shape and form as you know it today, bringing with it new life forms. Some to make residence beneath the sea of what is called Bimini today, where a great empire of reptilians thrive even unto these days. Other forms or life forms took shape on the surface of the earth. It was gases and electrical sparks that formed the complex molecules from the simple ones originally planted here some 66 trillion years ago. For billions of years, life continued to consist of no more than simple cells, yet with intelligence. As time passed, more complicated cells were born, and these cells gradually became even more complicated cells, which were given birth until they eventually combined with each other or married to give birth to even larger organisms. The more complicated an organism, such as algae, the larger its brain is. Thus, the more intelligent it became. These living organisms evolved out of the water through the ammonia and onto the soil. Millions of years after that, the next group of animals developed called metazoans. Their bodies were composed of specialized cells grouped to form tissues, organs, and systems, much like animals of today. These animals multiplied and diversified, and over a period of 19 million years evolved into man and many types of animals. The dragons, called terrible lizards or simple dinosaurs. This was the first evolution of life on the planet Earth. These inhabitants went through many changes, such as the ice glaciers, volcanoes, and earthquakes. During these times, there were also problems with the dinosaurs. The evolution of the dinosaurs and humans were imbalanced, to the point that the dinosaurs was much bigger than humans and were killing them off. These humans were of the Homo erectus species. They had six ether hair covering most of their bodies. Dinosaurs was classified or divided into separate groups, one being Sacrichia or lizard hips. These are four-legged, plant-eating dinosaur and can also be a meat-eating dinosaur. And the other being a Arachnacea or a bird hip. These group of dinosaurs is your two-legged plant eaters, and all of your armored dinosaurs. In your Ornithischia, the forward pointing bone has swung around in order that it can point backwards and forwards. And Saurischia have hip bones that are formed within reptiles. These three bone points in different directions. These two names are in reference to the arrangements of three bones of the pelvis. In the Saurischia, the bones were arranged similar to that of the modern crocodiles and lizards. These are your tadine, while the pelvis of the Ornithischia was bird-like. Therefore, humans developed from a one-celled animal which developed into a water creature. And these humans are tadpoles or reptilians for the first 3 months in their mother's womb. This is why humans still have webbed hands, gills, and scales. In their own evolution, with the help of mammalian parents, they became the root seed of mammals, later called human beings. In this primeval state, they climbed upon the land mass and developed into land creatures, and then to genus Homo onto Homo erectus. And these land creatures that were once tadpoles or reptilians grew while in their mother's womb. For 3 months, more plus 3 months, during that period, they were connected to an umbilical cord, umbilicus, or navel that is on the abdomen of the fetus and is connected to the placenta. This marks onto the surface of the abdomen of the mammals, who once dwelt in the marina or water, is where the umbilical cord, also called umbilicus, the central point or middle, is attached during gestation. The very word navel comes from the Middle English word nafila, which is the same as Arabic word nafela, nafilian, to fall down, which is the same word. It is the phonetics of the language. It is a clear picture in these days and times that the word navy, naval, and marina tie in. There is a confession that man is a tadpole, was considered a sea creature. Life forms that evolved from the sea were water vertebrates. They did not appear until 500 million years ago, and land vertebrates followed about 100 million years ago. About 225 million years ago, they were fish in waters as well as sea plants. Most amphibians had made their transition from water to dry land. The plants on the dry land attracted the amphibians to evolve into reptiles. The dolphin, as a whale, went from the stars to this planet in the sea, then onto land, then back onto the sea as a whale. Crocodiles are the remnants of that evolutionary phase also. From about 201 million years ago to 65 million years ago, which is the period of time often referred to as the dinosaur age. evolved two main line of egg-laying reptiles: those who could fly, which evolved into birds, like the Pteropodus, and those who roamed and dominated the planet Earth as the dinosaurs called Tyrannosaurus Rex, tyrant, reptile, or terrible lizards. These reptiles evolved alongside with a variety amphibians and water lizards away from the oceans and their way of life, which was full of activities. When humans came out of the water, your evolution jumped billions of years. When humans crawled on land, they were in the form of what looked like crocodiles. If you examine the back or the spinal column of humans, you can see knots up and down the spinal column. Millions of years ago, it was a fin. It was used to conduct heat, and the body had to mutate. Behemoth, or mankind of this day, still has it at the end of its spinal column and extensions called a coccyx, that is a tail, as well as wings under the arms and webbed hands. This human developed into what you call a dinosaur today. It got its name from it having that which is unique, that's being two sets of teeth. No other animal has two sets of teeth. The dinosaur was called Dimetrodon, or two types of teeth. The Dimetrodon lived about 60 to 300 million years ago, which means that it lived at the end of the Paleozoic era. The Dimetrodon was a large meat-eating reptile which measured some 10 to 12 feet from nose to tail and 5 feet in height, which explains why many humans have a craving for flesh. When the Dimetrodon, who was of the Paleozoic era, ruled, this deadly creature roamed the valley before the dinosaurs of the Mesozoic era. The Dimetrodon was the first to ever inhabit the land. It was a warm-blooded reptile. The Dimetrodon is a deadly reptile known for enormous sail on its back. This sail was used for the purpose of regulating body heat. By turning the sail to face the sun, the Dimetrodon was able to warm up more quickly, about a little less than an hour, which allowed Dimetrons more time to hunt. A reptile can't stay active if it is too hot. However, without the heat, reptiles become more sluggish, still, and helpless. But mammals can regulate the heat of their body because they are warm-blooded. Dimetrodon is not an ordinary reptile. The resemblance between human and Dimetrodon was the teeth. Both human and Dimetrodon has two sets of teeth, which were the incisors, the canines, and different sized teeth behind the canines. This is only found in mammals. 360 million years before the Dimetrodon, some creatures crawled out of the ocean, which were early amphibians. Within 20 million years, they split into two groups. One became the aggressive species, which was the acid, and the other one was the passive synapsid. They began to compete for supremacy. From generation to generation, each line improved and perfected itself. When the diaspits and the synapses moved further up the evolutionary chain, they began to split in different directions. The diapsis had two holes, two openings in their skulls, which evolved into a modern reptilian such as the turtles, the crocodiles, the alligators, and the lizards, etc. While the synapses had a single hole in the back of their skulls, which evolved into all proto-mammals such as the Dimetron, the armadillo, the whale, the dogs, the cows, and humans, and all other mammals that evolved in this line. The two holes allow the skull not to squeeze the brain. Proto mammals was changing from reptilian to mammalians, and from mammal-like reptilian posture. They took possession of the land mass for 40 million years and dominated the planet. Dimetrodons, Dimetrodons, Dimetrodons' first descendants were hot-blooded. They were a detour in evolution. They took steps from reptilian to mammalian. The dinosaurs took control and proto-mammals began to disappear. In the Triassic period, 245 million years ago, thus larger, more vulnerable animals began to long conquest and push proto-mammals to the brink of extinction. The lizard, like a Phaeachodon, and the warm-blooded Dimetrodon, reduced in size. Proto-mammals had to adapt to nightlife, becoming natural hunters. As proto-mammals began to mutate and evolve out of its present state, the size of its brain grew. During this age, extraterrestrials had leaped in and started breeding also. Although life evolved from the sea, all of them did not originate there. Some life forms crashed in the seas of the earth called Tiamat from Meldeck incident, practically from the Ninga star fleet, they being from another star constellation and lived under the seas of Tiamat, earth. These other life forms were beings known as troglodytes or Maldikians. They crashed down on Earth or Tiamat. One of the four Maldikian crafts called the West Wind crashed into the center of the planet Earth. These beings lived in the seas of Earth for millions of years. Their home base is under the Bermuda Triangle. They set up kingdoms called yams under the waters. The Maldikians developed into intelligent humanoids by abducting and mixing their seeds with humans. This is where the reptilian or dinosaurs come from. While on one hand, there was another set of extraterrestrial beings like the Greys, which also some of the dinosaurs evolved from. These grays came from the star constellation Orion, the star constellation Arcturus, and Pleiades. Meanwhile, the reptilians ruled them from Rigel and Beltegusi and Bellatrax and Mentica, Alanam and Alanitat in the Orion star constellation Auriga in the Capella star formation. They were all in fear of the aggressive insect-type extraterrestrial from Andromeda, many of which came down to this planet Earth. One of the common species of dinosaurs that evolved from the Rumadians, seed of the gray, was the Hypsislophodon, who came at the Jurassic period. They were called Hypsilophodon because of their high-ridged teeth. The Hypsilophodon were herbivores. They only ate off plants and fruits, extracting the needed chlorophyll or chlorine. The most common dinosaur that evolved from the reptilians was the Tyrannosaurus rex, meaning tyrant, reptile, or terrible lizard. It is 50 feet long, 20 feet high, and weighed 7 tons. It was the largest carnivore that ever walked the planet Earth. This creature is known to be the king of the meat eaters. The Tyrannosaurus rex came out of the reptilians, making them part dinosaur and part reptilian. The evolutionary human. Alongside with the dinosaurs, you had the evolutionary humans. Amongst the different species of evolutionary humans, you have the Australopithecines. There were 2 forms of Australopithecines that could walk and were erect. Their brain was 1/3 the size of modern human brains. The smaller ones stood about 4 feet tall and weighed between 50 to 120 pounds. This was your original pygmy, Kishite, Hawalahite tribe, which your mother Hawa or Eve came from. They had 9 ether hair. The larger ones were 7 feet and weighed 222 to 250 pounds. This was your original Watusi, the Kushite tribe which Zaka, Adam, came from. They had 8 ether hair. All other humans had 6 ether hair as other animals of this planet Earth. 9 ether hair is the symbol of an extraterrestrial being. All animals and humans on this planet have 6 ether hairs. Zaka was also a mixture of Hindu, the original black man, mixed with a Shaggy, which are another set of beings that were coming to Earth from the Sirius star constellation. These Shaggies were not your hairy Bigfoot creatures. They came from the constellation Sirius, the planet Iduma. Although these Shaggies, the Greys, came also from the same star constellation, from Zeta reticuli called Sirius B from biology entity. The Rumadians called Greys came from the planet Pleiades and Arcturus. When Nibiru passed by Sirius B, its presence drained the energy from the sun and caused this great star, Sirius B, to collapse. Sirius A had two planets. The Narians, an independent species of Greys, were on one planet, and the Nemos, or Namas reptilians, were on the other. Both planets rotated around Sirius A. So when the sun died, the Narians followed Nibiru through the Milky Way, while in pursuit, these beings, the reptilians, chased the Greys, the Narians. Both beings took residence on the planet Earth called Tamat. When the reptilians came, they tried to appeal to the Magdekians, or the troglodytes, that were living in the seas from the crash down years ago, who were of their seed. However, these Magdekians who lived beneath the seas of the planet Earth had a very violent nature. The reptilians had to take residence in caverns beneath the surface of the earth or in deep swamp areas of the planet Earth. They set out to conquer the Rumadians and take rule over them because of their passive nature. Some of the Rumadians came down to the planet Earth from Zeta Reticuli. They went directly to the original pygmy tribe of the Bushmen in South Africa, who were the Kushites, or the Hawaiites. These tribes lived, and they, the Rumadians, taught this tribe of the Anunnaki and of the beings from the star Sirius. The Kushites and the Hawaiites became a mixture of supernatural beings. These supernatural beings are Rumadians, or Greys, that existed in the Nile River of the barren and rocky land of Nubia. They were associated with peace and harmony only. The Pygmies called these supernatural beings Malek el-Bahr, or river angels. They lived in underwater castles. They were associated with 4 categories of human preoccupations, which were fertility, cultivation, marriage, and health. Then on the arrival of the reptilians, who in pursuit of the Narians crashed down also among the Dogon tribes, and began to teach them by shadow hours, and would retreat to the sea by day. They told them they were the Nemos, who had come to guide them if only they would tell them of the secret caves that the agreeable Rumadians dwelt in. The Bushmen were of the family of Nicobar. The Nemos, reptilians, was called the Dagri, or Dagi, by the Nubians. They were also referred to as the ugly water beings. They also lived in underwater cities linked to caverns deep in the earth. You have 8 caverns occupied by extraterrestrials. This does not include El Gatsura. The ruling species of the underworld are many. You have the Duwanis, called the Genomes, which stand 3 feet tall and have porcupine-like quills protruding from their bodies. They live near lava and other volcanic environments. They live off insects and worms. They are extremely intelligent, taking pride in mastering all of the science and literature of the surface people. I once met a Duwani who could recite all of William Shakespeare. He knew the best of wines from the 17th century up. He could discuss everything from the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the up, Upanishads, the Torah, on to Sigmund Freud and the architect of Frank Lloyd Wright. They are extremely friendly and are of no threat to human beings, yet they have no interest in coexisting with human beings on the surface, who they see as killers without a purpose. Next, they are the Samin, or the Dero, who were born by hatching from eggs that are 4 to 6 feet in diameter. They grow to 7 feet and are extremely obese, having 2 stomachs and cheweth the cud. The Samin, or Deros, have no apparent fingerprints or toenails, nipples, or navels, or rectum. They regurgitate their food. Their eyes are light blue. They have blonde eyebrows and pinkish gray colored skin, much like your corpse of a Caucasian, having not been exposed to the inner or outer sun. They have no teeth, but their mouth appears to be full of gummy, slimy substance. They are nocturnal and hear extremely well. They're not very peaceful and have a great dislike for humans. They are they are very human in appearance, yet far from it. They have a long trunk-like nose, much like an elephant. They contend that the planet Earth is theirs originally and will be theirs again one day. They, the Samin, or Deros, are constantly in conflict with the Duwani, who hold the same faith. The reptilians can be seen in the daylight. However, they would roam mostly in the deep, dark swamps and the marshlands. They took on different forms to appear to the humans. They had a very violent temper, nature, which horrified most of the people. They always came out at the shadow hour and hung around date trees. The Daguri enjoyed eating the dates of the trees. They also came on the land during the shadow hour to teach and mix with the Dagons. They would kidnap the virgins and rape them to implant their seed. It became a ritual to offer virgins in order to prevent the bloodshed. A negotiator was elected called a Hogan. Every 6 years, they would seek these virgins. This, in turn, led to female child sacrificial rituals. To these, serpent people becoming blood sacrificed to what became known as Ha Satan, the head of the reptilian tribe, also called Shaitan. The Dagons of Mali and West Africa speak and teach what they have been taught by these two tribes of extraterrestrials to this very day. The reptilian told the people of Nubia that they were lawgivers, and the people called nomus, which the Samun Na or Na Samun, or poison in Syriac Arabic as found in Quran. They taught them about the calculations and about the Sigu, a 60-year period. While on the other side of the Red Sea, eastward of Eden in Chaldea, the demon beings Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma were coming back and forth to earth from their star constellation Prach, Prach, Procyon, the planet Nirvana, for thousands of Earth years. They are savage animals and also called Chaldea, meaning demons. They became known as the original Asiatics. While all of this was going on, there were different kinds of evolutionary humans and behemoth that were living on the planet Earth in the same era also. You had your genus Homo and your Australopithecus. The Australopithecus was a creature who lived many millions of years ago. They differ chiefly in size. There are two types of Australopithecus. The first form was those who stood 4 feet and could walk erect. The second was the Java man, who was called Pithecanthropus, meaning monkey man or ape man. The other species was Paranthropus. Then you have other types like Neanderthal. Then there is the Cro-Magnon, the Pekin man, and the Homo erectus, and many other species in between. The Pekin man also belonged to this species. The Pekin man was a type of prehistoric man who lived about 365,000 years ago in what is called northern China. Members of the species of the Homo erectus or the erect man stood about 5 feet tall or 150 centimeters tall. They had a brain about twice the size of an Australopithecus. Most of these species of the evolutionary man came from the ape family. Among the different species of ape men, you have the black-haired ler. This is where you get the word Lord or Master. The Lares, plural, for ler, L-A-R, were recognized for their intelligence. The lers were the head monkey or spiritual monkeys well known. This is where the word monks come from. When the Anunnaki chose to breed by gene splicing through Gestru, one of the Anunnaki, and Ninti to breed the first mammy here, they chose to breed with the Lares because of their high intelligence. The red-haired orangutan was also very intelligent ape, and the brown and black-haired chimpanzees had the best brain on the scale of evolution. The orangutan is a large, rare ape. Some males have an arm spread of 7.5 feet, one of the largest of the apes. The orangutan's arms reach to his ankles when it stands. The orangutan lives in trees and rarely comes down to ground. They move through the forest by climbing from branch to branch. The orangutan feeds on fruits and leaves. The other type was the chimpanzee. The chimpanzee has the intellect of a 4-year-old child and can be brought up to the level of a 7 or 8-year-old. The chimpanzee is one of the most intelligent animals and resembles human beings more than any other animal. They usually walk on all fours and stand erect when excited or trying to see over tall grass. The orangutans were used by certain beings to breed with. They used the species known as the baboon, the dog-like monkey, and orangutan together. The baboon is a large monkey. It has a large head and long, sharp teeth, and a muzzle much like that of a dog. A baboon's arms are about as long as his legs, and some baboons have short, stumpy tails, but others have tails more than 2 feet long. The baboons are part hyena, jackal, and monkey. The breeding with them resulted in your behemoth type carnivorous man called mankind, one of the many species of the Caucasians. You have the red-haired, green, light-eyed, yellow-haired, blue-eyed, brown-haired, gray-eyed, and many others. While the other hand, certain beings use the the chimpanzee and the gibbon, which are an offshoot of the lories, for breeding. There are several species of gibbons. They all have long arms and no tail. Gibbons travel through the tops of the trees in small groups. A group usually consists of a male, a female, and 1 or 2 young. The chimpanzees and gibbons evolved into humans. They became your newborns, the original pygmy tribe. Their woolly hair comes from the supreme beings with 4 and 20 strands of genes coated in melanin. These are your original Anunnaki Elohim, the guardians of the Nubians with 9 ether, who in skin color was olive, as green as the greenest of olives. Gibbons is the smallest of the apes. It also ranged over a wider area than the other members of the apes family, the chimpanzee, the gorilla, and orangutan. The dog race was called the Hamel. They are the beasts. They were part orangutan and part baboon, called the beasts of the field. They were the fierce ones. Only some of these apes were used for breeding, and the other hand, some of these beings weren't touched at all. They just kept on evolving. They all had 6 ether as well as the other animals on the planet Earth. While all of this was going on, the larger meat-eating dinosaurs was eating and destroying everything. The early humans were dying out, and proto-mammals were at the brink of extinction. So the elders thought that it would be a great idea to destroy the planet and replenish it. Then a great extinction hit. 17,250,000 years ago. The second big meteorite shower hit the planet Earth. 2,250,000 years ago. Most of the prehistoric man and dinosaurs were destroyed. The surviving tribes were the Pygmies and the Watusis and the Hindus. The Pygmies, who had mixed with the agreeable Wumadians, and the Watusis, who had mixed with the disagreeable reptilians, were led into shelters beneath the earth, some behind waterfields and in caves and caverns of the planet Earth, to survive while the Hindu tribes went back to the planet called Nirvana in the Canis Minor star calculations. It was tablet 9 of creation called and color. Put it down like the put it down like